In order to fill in the complete side of a building or the roof of a house, then it's great to be able to join together complete, what look like rafts of tubes, and then they form like a complete sheet, which could be the roof or the walls. And once you've made your basic frame, if we simply take the tubes, and then let's have a look, they won't fit in that way, but they will fit in that way. We simply stack the tubes inside the frame. Look, like that. And now just use some sticky tape along there. I'll not do the whole thing, but you get the idea. Gradually, and all these little bits of tape can overlap. Putting a very long piece across can be a bit problematic, especially for young children. The tape just gets stuck up in their fingers and everything, and they end up trying to pull it off and then destroying the structure. So you can make that complete raft, and then that becomes a complete roof of a house. Well, you need two of them, or it could be a lean-to shelter, couldn't it? So if you had two uprights like that, one there, let's have a look, and we could get them to stand up somehow, that could lean against it, and it could be the shelter. It could be the shelter that sort of saves your life in a jungle or a forest or something like that. So a survival shelter. And these are representative of tree logs, of course, that would lie up and then covered with branches and moss and stuff like that. We could decorate it so that it was very authentic looking as well. So that's the basic raft idea there, and that gives you a flat raft of tubes, useful for a wall or a roof. But you can also take a set of tubes and then simply lie them flat without making a frame around them, but you've got to do it in smaller sort of parts. So that was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That was 7 tubes in a row all the way along in total. Well, this next technique is only really useful for making maybe 3 to 4 tubes in a row, and it's very good for making sort of decks for bridges. So like a bridge between a gap or a walkway. And all you do is take the same size sheet of paper that's been used to make the tube, and you roll. It's like wrapping up a Christmas present. You wrap up the tubes. So try and get the seam so it's in the middle there. So what we'll do is, look, we'll just roll that around a bit. Tuck it under. Now sometimes the paper doesn't want to cooperate, so you've got to fiddle around a bit with it to get it to do what you want to do. And of course, as soon as you let go, the whole thing sort of springs apart. But that's basically it. So I've sandwiched together those 3 tubes. You can give it a bit of a squish in order to get it properly lined up and everything. Tape. So I'll just put 2 little bits of tape on this one. Rub it on there. Next one. Like on blue paper, the masking tape doesn't look all that sort of pleasant, does it? But in scrap paper, and if you're going to paint it afterwards, I don't think that's a problem at all. Well, one problem is it starts to billow out, so we've got to stop that and try and create a sort of strength to it as well. So the only way to do that would be to take another piece of tape and put that round to sort of capture the tubes inside. I think another bit of tape there to make it more secure. And similarly with that side, I'll take a longer piece this time. So squeeze it in a bit first, pull the tape round. Go. So you can imagine if that was a little bridge that you had created between 2 boxes and then a person walking across it or a vehicle going across it, that's quite a strong little bridge, and the fact that it's got the tubes in it gives it its strength. If that was simply a plain piece of paper, it would be too floppy to be a bridge. But when we get the curve in it and multiple tubes, we've dramatically increased the strength of a very simple construction material. Well, you can scale that up. That's just the A5 paper tubes. You could scale it up to the A4 paper tubes. So that's a full sheet of A4 paper that's being used there. And then you can do things like this, look. Instead of wrapping it up like a raft, although I have got one here, look. Oh, that's A3. That's an A3 one. 4 tubes in an A3 raft. So that's a great big bridge, that one, across a gap. This one has been, the tubes have been rolled up in a different way to make a prism shape, a triangular prism effectively, although it's got curves. We usually think of prisms having a proper sort of corners and edges, but this one's got sort of rounded edges, if you like. So the 3 tubes there, and that makes a very strong structure as well. And what's interesting about it is the tube rolls, but the prism doesn't want to roll. It's got flat sides, but a curve at the end, at each edge. So that there is very good for being able to use in situations where you didn't want a tube to roll, and you can link one of these triangular prisms to the next and sticky tape a lot of them, and you end up with effectively it's a double-decker, even stronger bridge made of prisms. And then the extreme look, you can actually wrap up a whole set of these paper tubes. So that's an A4 sheet of paper, and those are A4 roll tubes, and I've simply tightened the paper up until 7 of them. And can you see how the 7 stack beautifully inside? So it's pure mathematics how it works. They all fit perfectly into the gap that's left until the 7th one goes in place and keeps them all in place. So it's beautiful symmetry about that hexagonal, close packed way everything holds together. So these are great fun because you can create all manner of like towers, and you know, can you imagine a giant flag tower, maybe with an even longer tube sticking out from it? Maybe novel ways of linking one hexagon to another. So that hexagon there, look, you can have some of the tubes come out of that hexagon and then link into the next tubes in the next hexagon, and then it's got longer and longer and longer. So that would be an extremely sort of strong structure with great versatility. And when you give children a chance like this, they can come up with all sorts of possibilities for it. And really, you know how to make the tubes. Now the struggle is, how on earth do I get my fingers around this to package it up like wrapping up a Christmas present? Well, make it a fun exercise like that perhaps, and see how good the Christmas wrapping is at the end. Fantastic. We'll come on to further techniques for using the tubes later on.